all so much for coming out today. My name's Izzy. I'm a rising senior at North Kingstown High School. And I had a little bit of a printing problem, so I'm going to be reading my speech off my phone. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Teaching the truth about history is fundamental to ensuring students get a complete picture of what has come before them. This will allow for students to think critically, draw their own conclusions, and move forward to ensure a better America is ahead. If we continue to ignore that racism is an issue, we lose the drive to end it, and we begin to burn our history. A common argument for those who oppose teaching divisive topics in history is that white students will feel guilty and that BIPOC students will feel oppressed. This is a flawed argument, as anyone who is doing their part to be actively anti-racist will not feel guilt. Students should instead feel angry about how systemic racism affects many aspects of society today. Systems are still standing that are built against people of color. For example, people of color are statistically more likely to live in more urban areas, where air pollution is a common problem to the health of those who live there. Black students around the state also have lower graduation rates than those of their peers and are less likely to take AP tests. This is something that we as a society should be looking on how to fix, and this is what the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee plans to do. Some people are afraid that teaching divisive topics such as racism will make students racist and look at color, instead of being colorblind and claiming, "I don't see color, I only see character." While this is a well-intended phrase, when you erase color, you erase all the inequities your classmates have gone through. You erase the patterns. Patterns such as who is taking more challenging classes in school, which students are at financial disadvantages, which students are experiencing more discipline. Once we acknowledge these patterns and inequities, we can begin to work together as a community to make aspects of society more equitable. However, if we keep ignoring that racism even exists, yes, as ridiculous as it sounds, some people do not think racism is a problem anymore. We put all of these problems on hold and leave them unsolved. When we ignore inequities in our community, they begin to grow worse. Solving these issues and raising the next generation to acknowledge them all starts with education. Learning and thinking critically about our history will raise the next generation to work towards a better tomorrow. If our history is ignored and censored, we lose the value of learning from mistakes and risk repeating history. Currently, there is a bill in Rhode Island sponsored by Representative Patricia Morgan. To quote the Providence Journal, Morgan's bill would prevent schools from teaching that Rhode Island or the United States is fundamentally racist or sexist, and that an individual, by virtue of their race or sex, bears responsibility for actions committed in the past on account of their race or gender. According to the Texas Tribune, Texas lawmakers have filed at least 3 bills targeting how racism, current events, and the country's founding principles are taught in K-12 schools, including a Senate bill that would strip out upcoming requirements that students would learn white supremacy is morally wrong, and study particular writings by women and people of color. This brings me back to 4 years ago and during my 8th grade English class, when I read the book Fahrenheit 451. We learned about firemen who burned houses and books that would make people think. It was a form of censorship to refute an uproar of the inequities that their society was facing. Their solution was to eliminate the ability for those to learn and fight back at all costs. This is not just the plot of a dystopian novel anymore. Our history is being burned by our lawmakers, and we are not being taught true history and fear that it is divisive. Do not let our history be burned. Fight back to ensure students of all backgrounds, of all beliefs, of all political parties are taught the full picture of history. Thank you.